Well, we've been talking about the shadow cabinet, we can talk now about the cabinet, because a short time ago I spoke to the Secretary of State for Science, Innovation and Technology, Peter Kyle. Great to have you on the programme.
Thank you.
Congratulations on the election win and also, of course, your appointment. Has it sunk in yet?
Well, simultaneously, it has sunk in because we're so deep already, working all weekend, over the programme for government, implementation plans, making sure that we can get the right things cracking from day one. But simultaneously, I wake up every morning thinking that the previous day was a dream, because it was just so special and so remarkable. The privilege that we've been given, and I've been given by the public and by the Prime Minister, is something that I take incredibly seriously. I am loving every second. I feel energised by it. And I'm just very, very pleased to be able to sit in a government department with thousands of civil servants and start changing the direction of it, set new priorities, and start working on how to get things delivered for the public who have expectations of us as a government.
Well, you're not hanging around. Rachel Reeves' speech today promised to get Britain building, more houses, more wind farms. Is this the war on the NIMBY?
No, it's not the war on the NIMBY. What this is central government using its power assertively but respectfully to get things moving. We made pledges in the election campaign, and already today you're seeing them being honoured. So, for example, I heard during the election campaign and in the run-up to it that there was a data centre that was a private sector investment, but it was turned down for planning because one minister didn't like the look of it from the M25. So we have today called that in. We will have another look at that. We're not going to prejudge the outcome, but we will have a look at that. This is something that is technically in greenbelt, but it's currently being used as a metal scrapyard. This would create, hundreds of millions of pounds worth of investment in building it, but it would create hundreds and hundreds of million pounds of investment into the long term, perhaps billions of pounds into our economy, and building the data infrastructure of the future. So we want to make sure that we are a government that is breaking down barriers to investment, not putting them up as the previous one did.
I'm really interested in this. You said there that this is a central government that needs to be robust, effectively,
yes,
to push things through. But you're also saying that this is a government that wants to decentralise, that
yes,
believes in localism. I'm just trying to work out in my head how those two things can be true. You're prepared to override local concerns to get Britain building. You want to classify wind farms as a nationally significant infrastructure, so Miliband effectively gets to approve them, not local councils. You're talking about the data centres there, and I did, Angela Rayner writing to local mayors to make sure any investment opportunity with important planning considerations should be brought to her attention, as well as Rachel Reeves. It doesn't sound to me like this is a decentralising government. It sounds to me like you want to make sure that actually you don't trust local decision makers to get the decisions right.
I don't think that the two are in conflict. A central government getting things done and respecting power where it is outside of Westminster. So where there is, there is metro mayors, there are regions, there is local authorities, and there are countries in the United Kingdom.
So why is Angela Rayner writing to local mayors to say, actually, you know what, just pass these things across my desk just to make sure you come to the right decision?
What we want to do is make sure that these are partnerships, rather than always working against each other, that they are partnerships. Now, there are some local authorities who want to build things, but they've been prevented from doing so, including onshore wind farms. Some local authorities have wanted to do it, but it is the central government that's been the block to it. What we're saying is, not only are we going to lift the block, we will be an assertive partner on your behalf to try and get these things done. Because we have just won an election, and this was in our manifesto. There are expectations that when it comes to the infrastructure of the future, whether it be digital, whether it be water and gas, which we've seen a lot of problems with as well, or whether it is the energy of the future, that we will be a government that uses the power that we have. We want local authorities to use the power they have, but there is a very particular power that comes with a Westminster government that has just won a decisive victory on a manifesto that promises these kind of changes.
It sounds like you are prepared to override local concerns then, aren't you? You are, aren't you?
No, as I say, there are powers that central government has that other parts of government don't have, and we will use those powers when it is in the national interest.
AI, of course, big part of the growth strategy, big responsibility for you as well. You said previously that AI could contribute 0.5% to growth. Is that still what you think?
Well, that's not what I said. That's actually what the OBR said. So the Office of Budget Responsibility, after the autumn statement, just before Christmas, released in their official data, that if digital technology was used throughout the economy, currently available digital technology was used throughout the economy in the way it's being used in parts of the economy, it would add 0.5% to national productivity and by year 5 create £72 billion worth of fiscal headroom for the exchequer. Now, when I saw that, I thought, that is the potential that's out there in the economy right now. I want to go and get it and exploit it, put it to use for our country, for our exchequer, our public services and investment. But I also thought to myself, well, there is a current Secretary of State and a current government. They've been told by the OBR that it's on the table, and they look the other way. Well, we're not going to look the other way. We're going to be out there seeing how we can safely deploy AI. Today, that I've already announced that we will be creating the digital centre of government by bringing together digital services from across government, creating a very powerful centre that can not just assess what the technology that's out there and bring it into government and our public services, because an ordinary Briton at the moment is spending over a week every year dealing with government bureaucracy. Why, in a digital age, is that possible? So we want to make sure we can make benefits there, but also conversely, see what digital technology is out there and make sure that we can be an active partner as a government to get it to all parts of the economy so that everybody can start benefiting from it.
There are a lot of people who are worried about AI as well. And I was quite struck by what you said previously about social media, about kind of digital things. You said that actually regulation hadn't really kept up. I mean, is there a risk that the same is going to happen on AI?
There is that risk, which is why I was very clear with my words a second ago to say safely deploy. Safety has to be baked into everything we do as a government, and the previous government, safety was lost control of, whether it was women and girls outside
Don't worry
after
about
dark
them.
or whether it was online.
You guys are in charge
Yeah, so
now.
we have to get a grip back on safety, and I want to reassure people that the AI Safety Institute we will keep and we will invest in and we will make sure that actually it's put to greater use, I believe, going forward than it is even now. But safety will be there from the outset, and we will reassure the public that the AI can be safely deployed. And where there is technologies and AI is used in ways that aren't safe, we will act assertively. We have very high expectations of tech companies, and I've spoken to their bosses, both here in the UK, Europe, and I went over to California and Seattle earlier in the year, and I said to them, we want to benefit from the products that they are creating. We want to benefit from the investment that they could potentially have in our economy. But they must make sure that their products are safe, and if not, you will find a very assertive government that will tackle it.
We're talking about growth. We're talking about Rachel Reeves' plans on building, your plans on AI. It feels to me like your whole, in many ways, economic strategy is pinned by this desire to get growth. Keir Starmer indicated in the election campaign he wants growth of 2.5%. That's pretty ambitious, some would say. I mean, look, the OBR is forecasting 1.9% next year, 2% in 2026. IMF are even more gloomy. They don't think it would rise above 1.7% over the next parliament. So is it, I guess some would say, is this almost a bit of a fantasy?
This is potential, Sophie. We're looking at the economy. We are proud of Britain. We think it has potential that is untapped. And we're trying to guess how much potential is out there and how realistically we can unlock it. All of the things we talked about...
This is my whole point. Is it realistic? I mean, we can see here, these are the GDP projections. You can see the UK. It's basically been tracking the rest of the EU as well. All governments want growth. You can't just click your fingers and get it.
But, Sophie, what you're doing, you just told me not to mention the previous government, but what you're doing is using the failures of the previous government as an assumption...
And the whole of the EU as well.
Let's be really clear about this, because Treasury figures released today show that if the British economy over the last 14 years, since 2010, had grown at the same average as the OECD...
This is my point here, though, because the OECD includes countries with very, very different economies to ours. If you look at the EU, we've effectively been tracking, actually doing a bit better, to be honest, on growth than the rest of the EU.
But the EU is 27 nations, which also has countries and economies that are very, very different from ours. Our economy is diverse, it is global, we have services and manufacturing. We have huge potential in it. There is lots we can do to unlock it. When I say unlock it, government can break down barriers to private sector investment. That's what we will be doing. So don't just judge us on the failures of the last Tory government. Also look about the previous 13 years under Labour, when there was 2.5% average growth. Why aren't we judging ourselves on that and setting that as our aspiration?
You had just finally, you had a decent gig at the weekend, presenting the British Grand Prix trophy to Lewis Hamilton at the Formula One. How did you manage to get that gig?
Well, they actually called up and the photograph is there, and I try not to look at it because it was like such an amazing moment for me.
I can see from your face that it was like...
So what people have to understand is when they called me and said, would I, on Saturday afternoon, late afternoon, would I go there tomorrow and present a trophy? I asked them, is this some little trophy that they're going to give for the best gear change or something? And they said, no, it's the winner's trophy to the winner. I've been to Silverstone 5 times and sat on Club Corner on a grassy bank. Twice it was pouring with rain and I slid down in the mud. So when people were coming up to me, these bigwigs in the motor industry, saying, is this your first Grand Prix? I said, no, I've done this the hard way. I put in the hard graft before getting here. That was an amazing thing to do. And also it was an incredible race. And to have Lewis Hamilton, on behalf of Britain, winning the British Grand Prix for his first time in 3 years, it was just the most amazing thing to do. And to get that conversation with him when I could express on behalf of our country the pride we have in him was just an amazing thing to be able to do. And that is one of the things you can do when you win an election.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you very much.